Alright, hey Mary. I figured it'd be better to give you a video instead of writing down a procedure because it's kind of a lot of steps. But we're going to do 2 tabs on a circle, and this should be good for multiple tabs as well. So first thing we'll do, just a quick example, is we're going to go to Draw and Edit, Special Figures. Let's make a circle. Let's give it a 5-inch radius. This will be quite large. F2 zooms our window, there's our circle. Now, before you start to program it, you're going to need to split up your circle in 4 different areas. So, in 45-degree segments. So we're going to go to, in the Drawing and Editing tab, Draw, we're going to do an angular line, a line. We're going to tell it down here that it's going to pass through the center, or wherever your 0, 0 is, the circle, the center of the circle. And then the angle's positive 45 degrees. We get a 45-degree line. We're then going to do the same thing. A line passes through 0, 0, and we're going to go negative 45. We have our 45-degree segments, but now we need to split up our circle. So to do that, in Draw and Edit, under Drawing, you have Split IS. I'm going to click on that. It says now select your break element. So you're going to click on your circle, and then you want to tell it now the break position. So what you're going to have to do is hold down Shift until you get the snap tool active, and then click the intersection. I just broke that circle into that segment. So you have to do this in all 4 quadrants. You know, there's our line, there's my break element, there's my line, there's my break element. So now I can hit the X to delete segments of geometry. We're going to delete this, delete that. I now have a circle with 4 radiuses. That's really important. So from here, in Draw and Edit, we're going to make a point, and we're going to tell it where does that point go. So these are going to be your start points, where you want to start cutting into your hole. So let's say I'm going to have a start point here and out there. So my first start point is going to be at 5.25, comma 0. So we're going to start 1/4 inch outside of our circle. Then we're going to also start at negative 525, comma 0. And that's our second start point. Now what we're going to need to do is also plot points where you want the tabs to be. So to do this, there's probably a bunch of different ways to do it, but I'm just going to show you one. Let's make a horizontal line. It's going to ask for where does that line pass through. Let's give this 1/2-inch tabs. Let's make sure this thing doesn't move. So we're going to say it passes through x0, y.5. That's our first horizontal line, and we're going to draw another one at 0, negative 1/2 inch. Those are our 2 1/2-inch lines, and now I'm going to make a point and tell it where that point intersects my circle. So again, to get that point, we have to hold Shift to get our snap tool. We're going to make a point there, and I'm going to go to the other side of our circle and make a point here. Again, we're going to hold Shift. There we go. And we'll hit X to delete our construction lines. And now I've got points kind of where I want my tabs to be. We're going to roughen from here, cut around, stop there, then we're going to roughen this way and stop here. But now we also need to give it, once we get to that tab cut area, where's our wire going to escape out to? So our relief point. So we have to make a point absolute from that point. Now there's a couple different ways to do this. I always cheat. I do auxiliary axis, and I just temporarily move my origin point, and we'll click on that point, and we'll hit enter. Now I can make a point that's relative to that 0. So we'll say we're going to go out 50 thousandths in X. That's our relief point, where we're going to cancel our offset. And we'll do the same thing on this side. So I'll hit 7 auxiliary axis. We'll click on our point. We can hold Shift too if you want to make sure that we're getting that point. It's going to ask for an angle for the origin. If you don't want one, which we don't, just press enter. My origin's now there. We're going to go back to point, and we're going to relief out 50 thousandths in X positive from that location. So now if I want to get my origin back to the center, you can just hit 8, which is change axes, and that changes it back to the previous location. So now I've got my start points, my tab points, and then my relief point on both sides of my part. So what we need to do now is start to program this. So we're going to go to CAM, specify machining. Where's our initial hole? Well, we're going to start here first, and then I'm going to cut into this element, and then I'm going to cut in from this point into that element. So what you should have is something that looks like this. All right. And then from here, we're going to go to set condition settings. We'll tell it what you're cutting. Okay, we're using 10 thou brass wire. Let's just say we're going to cut steel. We'll select our thickness. Let's say this is 3 inches thick. And we're cutting punches. We'll have, let's say, optimal flushing. We want to do a rough and 3 skims, or we'll do a rough and 2 skims, sorry, 3 cuts total. And we'll hit search EPAC. Here's your EPACs, feed rates, offsets. So we're going to save that to 2D CAM. For cutting a punch, this is very important. Make sure you say multiple because we're doing multiple cuts, even though it's a single shape, but click on multiple. We're going to go forward reverse, that's our only option. And we do want tabs, so we're going to say uncut. And we're going to say we're going to rough those tabs off. And then the way that this is going to work is we want to go right cutting direction on this part. If I say left, it's going to cut through my tabs. So the hold length is normally how big of a tab you want to hold on to your part by. But we are going to make our tabs ourselves. So we're going to say 0. If you put in a value there, it's not going to come out right. Approach distance for the startup EPAC, we're not going to input that also, unless you do want a startup approach EPAC. This will be on a W41, a newer layout control for the escape amount. Your 2D CAM won't have this option, but you don't have to worry about setting it. If you have set that in the past, it will default to 1 inch, but it's okay. We're giving it our own escape amount with those relief points. We're going to hit OK, and now we're going to click on all to apply this to all of our machining. We're going to hit yes, and we want to see, okay, retrieval ended normally. From here, go to function output and make sure that your process deployment type is set to cutoff. Right, you can right click and you have all these options. Make sure it says cutoff, and then we're going to hit create. I got an alarm. So let's see. It says unsuitable accumulate value. So let's go back to set condition settings. Oh, we skipped a very important step. So I didn't give it my relief points. So before we can create it, we have to go to others. When you go to others, you'll have this cutoff point set. You know, this is again one of our newer layouts here, but just look for cutoff point and say set. You're going to click on the line of code that you want to lead off of for your tab, which is on this side, this line, and then we're going to tell it the points of accumulate. So this is going to be the tab point where the tab starts, so it's that point. Now it says make relief point. That's where we want to cancel the offset to. That's this point. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. So now it says again, select a line. Here's the line. It says make points of accumulate. We're going to click on the point that we want to stop or start the tab. And then now it says make relief point. We're going to cancel the offset there. So now that we did that, we actually have 2 tabs. And I can close out of that others menu. And now if I were to hit create, don't get any type of alarm. And if you want to just double check this, you can do a step and hit the space bar to see what's going to happen here. So there's our rough cut, cancels off to that relief point, skim, skim, goes to our next start point, rough cut, skim cut, skim cut. Should go back, cut the rough tab off, go to the other side of the part, thread it, cut off our other side, and we're done. So from here we can just say, let's save it to the monitor. If I can focus. But I think you know this part here. Save it to monitor, and we go ahead and output a program number. So let's just say program 100. We'll hit OK.